Everyone wants to leave a legacy of positivity in the world around them. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a nonprofit executive director, or even a soon-to-be entrepreneur, one fact is always true. The easiest and most effective way to catalyze change in the world around you is through commerce and through business. But how do you do it? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Changemakers Collective, a place where people can come and get educated and encouraged and empowered to be the impact agent in the world around them. Brought to you by Silverback Ventures, Steph Thomas and Scott Woods have over 50 years combined experience helping companies and owners amplify the voice and multiply the impact of purpose-driven businesses. Join us each week as we discuss what it means to live a life of purpose on purpose.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Changemakers Collective. We got a very interesting topic that we're talking about today that is super relevant in an age where, and I'm going to read this off to you guys. Forbes just presented an article that said 222 CEOs of the world's largest companies retired in January 2025, and 10,000 Americans turned 65 every day in 2025. So we're going to talk about generational leadership and the transformation of what that looks like in our society and also in our businesses. So I'm Scott, that's Steph, and we're going to jump right into it. I was shocked to read about the 10,000 every day turning 65.
Scott, as an HR professional.
Oh yeah, this has got to drive you a little bit cuckoo.
Well, it's frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So people will call and say, hey, we have a leadership problem, when it's not a leadership problem, it's a cultural problem. And, you know, buzzwords are emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence. But when you're coming from, in one office, boomers, Gen Y, Gen X, millennials, and the upcoming Generation Alpha, all working together.
And we're going to show you on the screen for those of you who are watching on YouTube. We'll have a matrix of as to what ages all those people are, because I'm like, all right, I know I'm not a boomer, but I don't really understand or know where I fall into the other ones.
But it creates cultural problems, right?
Why is that? Why is that from let's go from the boomers that are turning 65. Mm-hmm.
So boomers are very top-down, leadership-minded. So I'm going to tell you what to do, and you just need to go do it exactly the way I told you to do it.
Because I know better, because I've been there, done that.
Right.
Okay.
So that is leaders that are currently there. Generation X are transformational leaders, right? Like, I want to get some of your buy-in, but I still want to tell you how to do it.
Yep.
They are more of the micromanagers.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Generation Y.
So hang on, back up. Mm-hmm. So your boomers are dictatorial, top down, but they're going to say, hey, just get it done, and I don't really care how you get it done as long as it gets done.
Exactly the way I told you to.
Okay, so I do care.
But they check out.
Okay, I do care how you do it. Mm-hmm. Follow my recipe. Don't deviate from the recipe.
Right. And when you try to bring things to them, and now this is not a Stephanie makeup. This is just when you bring ideas to them, they may or may not listen, and they usually will say, but we're not doing it that way.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like we just came out of a meeting like that.
Yeah, we did. Okay, Generation X, they don't want to be told what to do. So they have a transformational, in theory.
Okay, so let's talk about the ages here.
Okay.
So your boomers are turning 65. Your Gen X people are how old?
1965 to 1980s.
So that's us.
Yeah.
Right? They're in their 50s.
Right.
Okay.
We tend to micromanage.
Okay.
So we think we're giving you a say, but really we micromanage a whole lot.
Oh, I hope I don't do that.
No, we're independent. We want you to be independent.
What exactly are you saying, Stephanie Thomas?
I don't think you micromanage. But I think, again, just with any of these, there are exceptions to the rules.
Yeah.
People have worked very hard to move because, remember, we also are talking about the difference between leaders and managers. So boomers were very much managers, top-down leadership. When you get to our age group, well, we just didn't want to be managed in that way anymore. Mm-hmm. So we called ourselves leaders, but really we became managers of the processes.
Okay, I'm with that.
Then you get to the millennials. That's the ages from 1981 to 1996. And again, you have spillover.
So those are
probably
late
our
20s,
kids.
early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. These groups are more collaborative.
Okay.
They don't want to be micromanaged at all. We all want to work together and come to a consensus.
So there's the group project folks.
They are situational leadership and servant leaders of the world right now.
Okay.
Right? And they believe that a total consensus is the only way to move forward. Now, all of those have good and bad things happening at the same time, because now we realize, well, everybody can't come to a consensus. Somebody has to make the decision.
Somebody has to make the decision.
Right.
Yep.
And we really focus on the difference between a leader and a manager.
Okay.
And there's very different things, and you need both of those people in the workforce.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right.
Yes.
Then we have the group, and those are the people that are coming through now, right? These are 2013, but really the 2010 through 2025
Okay.
born. Most of these folks grew up not with paper and pencil. We've taken cursive out. Even my kids, first grade, they were issued a laptop. So they are all integrated into tech. They are our COVID children who did a lot of their school.
Yeah. At home
at
by
home.
themselves.
So they were pivotal in moving from face-to-face education to online education. Okay. They do not want to be micromanaged. They want to be heard because they are very smart. And again, this is not a bad thing. This is, their futuristic thinking. Hey, but we could. So back to our original statement. If you have a boomer who typically has had, and again, we looked up the statistics, 2 to 3 jobs max in their lifetime. They have longevity. Down to the Generation Alpha, that's the ones that are coming through, 2.7 years is the current, right now, time frame that they'll stay on a job. So you move from strategic planning, long-term, longevity, long history, roots in a company, to how many projects can we get done in the 2.7 years that they're involved, and how do you manage them, and how do you get the boomers to talk to the alphas, and the alphas to communicate with the boomers, because boomers think that people that work from home aren't actually working.
True.
Alphas think that if you make me go to the job, I'm never going to get anything done. And they all work together right now. It's the first time in history that many generations working in one location. Then you throw in AI.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's a learning curve.
Well, and
There was so many words. I'm sorry.
No. That was a really good backdrop to why we're having this discussion, because we have the privilege of working on both ends of that spectrum with our clients, going, okay, we've got an organization, one of our organizations that we work with, where it is a boomer leader.
Right.
That is
Who
struggling
needs
hardcore.
face-to-face communication.
Yeah. His very first thing was, I need people in the office, and we're not getting anything done unless we're in the office. There is tremendous value in face-to-face work.
Yes.
You now see all of the tech companies who are hiring all these Gen Y and Gen Alpha folks saying, hey, or Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you need to come back into the office. Well, that's not just because they have office space that they want to fill people with. That's because you have collaboration that leads to innovation that generally is much more impactful if you do it in person.
So how do you balance it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? So you've got all of these boomers that are retiring, and maybe worse, staying on.
Coming back out of retirement.
Yeah.
Because here's what we are seeing. And again, SHRM is a great place to look at how...
Society for Human Resource Management.
There you go.
Okay.
How things are happening right now. So some statistics that I pulled are straight from SHRM. Some are from Forbes, some are from, so we can link some things so you can see what we're talking about. But here's what we realized. Companies, sustainable companies, out of COVID lost people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now we're in the next phase of American history where we are reestablishing. We've brought people back to the table. People came out of retirement because so much history and processes and things were lost when we pivoted that now we're bringing people back.
Well, I think let's park there for a second, because that organizational knowledge is incredibly important, because it establishes the cultural norms inside the business that should align with your vision and your values and your mission. And when you have a completely disparate group of people working all independently, all over the place, I personally think, based on the conversations I've had with and I'll talk about this one tech company that I work with, you have a lot more work that needs to occur to ensure there's continuity and there's collaboration, because otherwise you have people just doing their own thing everywhere.
Okay, but Scott, here's where your HR person is very important.
Yes.
Because if your HR person isn't able to discuss cultural intelligence, so your boomer, for a lack of a better terminology, has to understand why every meeting cannot be face-to-face. And the days, the water cooler meetings where you just sit in a room and talk for 3 hours, that's not a reality in today's day-to-day operations for most companies. On the flip side, the group of people that never want to leave their house, but they live close enough to the office, cannot draw the line and say, well, I'm just not coming in, because there are some meats and potatoes in meeting face-to-face.
Well, and I think what's interesting about that comment. So there's an organization I had the privilege of working with called Servant, completely remote. They've got employees in, I want to say it was like 10 or 12 different states and 2 different countries. Nobody's together ever. And they do a phenomenal job of ensuring they have the tools in which to collaborate and talk as if they were face-to-face. We have another organization that we work with very regularly that will have online collaborative meetings. And then during the course of the meeting, they'll say, oh, we only have an hour for this meeting, so let's table that and talk offline. And not everybody who should be on the conversation is in the conversation. Decisions are made in a vacuum by a portion of the team when the rest of the team has no idea what's going on and should have input. So there is a tremendous amount of, in that organization, confusion around what we're doing and how we're doing it. So
oftentimes somebody will say, well, when did y'all make that decision? Why wasn't I at the table?
So I think as we talk about the transition of leadership and the gap that is absolutely positively happening right now, and unless you are organizationally preparing for it, is going to be a huge obstacle to growth.
You'll lose the norms.
Yeah, you'll lose everything. You have that generation of people that are coming up that are saying, hey, we've worked remote and we've worked collaborative with technology. We don't need to be face-to-face. We don't need to understand how it was done previously. Obviously, we're not doing it the same way we did it 20 years ago, so we don't really care. If those folks aren't talking to the legacy folks that say, hey, we built this company because we wanted to do X, you're going to miss out. And that company is going to squander the opportunity to amplify and multiply, which is
so
what
let's
we
talk about that a little bit. So some of the things that people can do. First, you can have a leadership training program. So the Leadership Challenge is a great way to get leaders all on the same page.
And discover. I think the other thing it does is it points out and helps you discover what type of leader you are individually and how that your leadership skills fits into the greater context of the leaders that are around you.
Right. Another great, first you have to know who you are, right? Much like you said. So a DISC or a Gollum or a, whatever. You got to learn how you are, how you show up in the workplace, how you behave. We're the same age group in the same generational gap, and I lead very different than how you lead.
True.
And you have to not only know how you lead, but how you fit in, so the leadership challenge, and then mentor programs work really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if, one of the things that I was reading that it's Generation Y, it's the millennial or the millennials. They want to collaborate.
Oh, yeah,
They
100%.
want
Yes.
to have big conversations
They've
about
only ever collaborated.
right.
They grew up in an era where it was all about the group projects. When you and I were in college, everybody did their own thing. I did my own research paper. I didn't want to work in a group because all those
Right.
morons weren't doing anything.
Right.
All these guys have grown up in where everything was a group project.
Everything was a collaboration.
The struggle there, and I think this is where you were headed, the struggle there is nobody ever makes a decision.
There you go.
Everybody throws their hands up and says, ooh, I'm not going to be the one that
Right.
makes a decision.
Who's going to speak?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly right.
So when you have a mentor program, then all voices are heard, right? You can understand where the why behind the company is, how you move from one generation to the next in a company, how you set the company up for succession.
So you're talking about, though, from a mentoring standpoint of like a company culture mentoring,
Yes.
not an individual one-to-one.
Right.
So you're talking about, okay, we got to understand, make sure there's a part of your onboarding is that you're learning those cultural and company legacy and norms over time. I also think there's value in having that succession planning you're about to talk about is critical, and the boomers did a poor job of that. And they'd be
Right.
the first ones to say it. We did not
That
set
is
up our
because-
company
and
for
again,
success
if you
long
do
term.
any study around that at all, it's because the longevity, and again, this
Yes.
is the first time in history that this is happening.
Yep.
People didn't leave their jobs.
Yeah. So you just
Versus
passed
today,
it down to
yeah.
the next guy who wasn't dead.
Right. I mean, you have years and years and years of watching how this
Yep.
happens. Well, you can't teach all of that in 2.7 years.
No.
Okay, here's another thing that was, I thought, okay, we really have to discuss this as leaders. Strategic planning versus agility planning.
Yep.
Right? So strategic planning, and we know this, there is an age group that they strategically plan for a year, or for
even
the
longer.
year,
Yeah.
not
Yep.
it's for the year. You meet each quarter to find out where everybody is. Those are the micromanagers of the group.
Well, and that's traditionally how it's been done.
Right.
So when we say micromanagers, we're not saying that in a negative
No, 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 no,
context.
no.
That's how
This is
traditionally, I mean, you had companies that would plan 5 years in advance.
Right.
You just cannot do that now.
Right.
We have an organization that we have to submit
5-year
projected
plan.
financials. And I'm like, okay, well, the minute we hit go on this, they're completely obsolete
Okay,
because we
so
don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's what's happening. And I think that is a great point that I want to land on for a second. So if you are a company that are building 5-year plans, so now there is a buzzword, agility planning, right? You have to be able to pivot on a dime. So COVID, and we started thinking
Yeah.
about it when COVID happened. I mean,
Yep,
companies
yep,
had to revamp their whole life, right? So when you have a 5-year plan, and we are big on, you got to plan. You have to plan. I'm not saying that you should not have a strategic plan of some sort, but a 5-year plan can't be the end all be all. You have to come in, you have to look at what's happening, finances change, people change. And if you're
Yes.
changing theoretically 2.7 years of a turnover,
Yeah, you're turning over your staff every 3 years.
right, you have to be able to think outside of the rigid 5-year plan. And that's a big deal. That's going to be hard for the boomers, and it's going to be unbelievably painstaking for the alphas.
Yeah, and I think I get to talk about this a lot from the financial standpoint. Everybody says, hey, we need a budget, we need a budget, we need a budget, we need a budget. And yes, you have to have a budget for some structure, especially if you're a nonprofit. You have to have them approved by the board, all those things. You need to have budgets. What is much, 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 much more helpful when it comes to the financial stability of your company is to have quarterly forecasts where you can say, okay, this is what's going to happen next quarter. Nobody planned for COVID.
Right, Scott. I think it's important because if you do a budget, because we see that happening with companies, if you do a 5-year budget, then what happens after year 2? People are like, yeah, we have it on the budget, but we don't go by that.
Yeah, we
But
don't
if you
use the
do
budget at all.
quarterly,
Yeah, if you do quarterly forecasts, you have to have a hard budget where you as the leader have to set goals for the year.
yes. You should.
But to your point, you have to be flexible enough as the leader to go, okay, COVID happened. We're not going to hit that number. So our forecast is going to be reduced. Or now that we have really smart people on our team and we've implemented all the technology to do all the routine things, we can get all those smart people in a room or on a Zoom call and say, okay, how do we innovate so that we can get closer to our desired end result? One of the things that I think we need to talk about real briefly is the fact that those that are expecting to stay at a job for 3 years often are hearing and seeing exits for companies, tech companies especially, that are creating a new technology. They build it up to a certain degree and they sell it off. Everybody makes $1 zillion, and all of a sudden you see them on Instagram surfing and talking about how they retired at 25. That does not happen often.
Right. That's
almost
an exception.
Never. Yeah, almost never. 1 in every 100,000 companies is a unicorn. So those of you who are in that younger generation, you need to start thinking about, hey, I'm not going to there's no quick fixes. My grandfather used to say all the time, there's no free lunches. You still have to do the work. So as you're leading your company and as you're an employee in your company, you have to start thinking about what skills am I bringing and what skills can I learn from those that the older generations can teach me, so that when I go to the next gig in 3 years, I'm bringing something new and better to the table rather than just hopping from one job to the other, hoping I'm going to get a better title and a better pay just because I've existed for 3 more years.
Sir Branson from Virgin Everything, right, says, train your employees like they never leave, but give them the space to leave when they want to.
Yes.
And most people won't leave because you're always teaching them. You're mentally stimulating them. And before we wrap up of our cross-generational leadership, I want to make sure that we are not being confused about how to plan. You cannot just throw spaghetti on the wall, for a lack of better terms. You have to plan for everything. Plan for growth, plan for development, plan for leadership changes, but be agile enough that when you need to switch, change it up, that you are not so rigid to your plan that you cannot move forward.
Your plan for the year doesn't supersede your vision and your mission and your values.
That is true.
If you are solid on where you're going, how you're going to get there, and why you're going there, then no matter what happens outside of your control, you have the ability to pivot and go which way. Now, the key to that is that, and this is where the boomers kind of fell down, they dictated it down. It was top down. Now you have an opportunity to bring every employee together and make sure there's a unified, shared vision of where you're going to go, because then you have somebody that may be in a non-executive role going, oh, wait, we could do X, Y, Z, and it would align with our vision. It would align with our mission. It would align with our values, and it would allow us to deliver on our brand promise, even though whatever else is going on in the world.
So as you continue to live a life of purpose on purpose, if you need help with strategic planning, understanding your mission, vision, and values, or if you need some help just structuring or navigating through cultural intelligence, make sure to reach out to Silverback Ventures. We have some links that we'll have in the
notes,
show notes. Until we talk to you again, have a good one.
Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.